On August 8, 2014, a user by the name Simon PRJ posted a video on YouTube titled Grave Roaming for Morons. This was a digital re-upload of a very old VHS video, an extremely chilling one at that. In it, a young man goes into disturbing detail, explaining step by step how to rob graves and sell the remains on the black market. What makes this video even more unsettling isn't just its content, but the mystery surrounding it. No one knows who the man in the video is. To this day, his identity remains unknown, and no one has come forward to claim responsibility. This has left the internet in two fiercely opposed opposing camps. Some believe this is authentic footage of a real grave robber. Others argue it's an obscure horror, short-crafted purely for shock value. Surprisingly, I came across evidence that supports both sides of the argument. While researching this topic, one undeniable fact, however, is that the original video is extremely old. The earliest mention of its title, Grave Roaming for Morons, I found on the internet was a now-defunct online store for horror VHS tapes called Shocking Videos. This website listed the tape for sale in April of 2003, stating, "What we have here is genuine camcorder footage of a drunken teenage stutter giving a half-hour lecture on how to steal body parts from graveyards for fun and profit while holding a fresh rotting skull in his hands." That said, the original video is likely from the late 80s. We can clearly see the VHS box for the 1987 Evil Dead 2 movie 5 minutes and 43 seconds into the video, and to narrow it down even more, there's an issue of Horror FX magazine visible in the bottom left corner. At the same time, this specific cover was a part of a unique Fangoria Horror magazine edition released in July 1989, which means the video was probably shot around that year. The horror memorabilia scattered throughout the footage implies that whoever created this video might have been a die-hard horror fan just trying to make something creepy for the thrill of it. And while most of the gruesome advice given in the video feels very authentic, like describing ways to remove the skull from a body that hasn't fully decomposed, yet there are also sections that seem extremely goofy, like when the host suggests knocking out witnesses so they think it was all just a dream. However, the issue with this theory is that Craig doesn't have the stutter that was prominent in the original video. Now, he could have faked the stutter in the original video for some reason. However, people on the internet find that extremely unlikely, given how real it feels. Grave robber or actor, the stutter is real. I've known several people with really bad stutters, and it's such a specific, uncontrollable behavior that makes it hard to fake this kid stutter. Feels unique and authentic. I've never seen an actor in a movie fake a stutter that felt this real. It's possible one day the person seen in the video will come forward with the truth, but for now, we have no idea who the person is, or whether or not this extremely realistic-looking grave robbing video. In November of 2014, Nicole Allen purchased a pink princess wand for a 2-year-old daughter at the dollar store in Lyon Avenue. In Kettering, the name of the wand was Evil Stick, which is quite bizarre on its own, but likely went unnoticed by Nicole. However, the stick also promised things like luster beauty and wonderful music. The box art also featured the character Sakura Kinomoto, who is the protagonist of a popular Japanese animated show called Cardcaptor. Sakura in the show. Sakura is essentially a magical princess, so the inclusion of just a cute-looking character made the cold dropper guard even further, but she couldn't have been more wrong. The thing is, the inclusion of this character on the box art suggested an Asian origin for the product, and looking back, the Evil Stick does have a small, and I do mean small, resemblance to one of the ones Sakura uses in the show. The Evil Stick was most definitely a bootleg version of a product that should have looked something like this, had it been official. However, the Evil Stick was much more sinister than just being a bad product. Unlike its official counterparts, the manufacturers of the Evil Stick bootleg had free rein to do whatever they wanted, and it's what they chose to do with this freedom that was utterly disturbing. When Nicole found out about the disturbing truth, she made her findings public in hopes of getting this creepy toy banned from stores. News coverage of the Evil Stick quickly went viral, but the toy remained as mysterious as it was creepy, and the disturbing image concealed within the toy was traced back. The French photograph R.R. Butcher Ludwig, who appears to be a master of creating the most nightmarish artworks one can imagine. Nearly all of his work is too graphic for YouTube for most of them. However, even a quick glance is enough to trigger your fight or flight response. As for why the gory horror-filled work of his photograph was stolen to be included in a children's toy, no one knows for sure. The only other thing people learned about the evil stink after examining its package was that it was manufactured in China, and that's it. The packaging didn't have the name of the manufacturer. I even looked up the universal product code embedded in its barcode and couldn't find any relevant information through that. Either this is just one of those things that really makes you wonder what other disturbing mysteries are hidden inside cheap children's toys. On July 2, 2017, an anonymous user posted a threat on 4chan Paranormal Board saying, "How does one live after taking the red pill on the 2006 volleyball incident?" Now, if you're wondering what that incident was, it's a strange and disturbing story. The post was referring to a supposed mass shooting where a gunman killed 14 people during a high school volleyball game in either South Dakota or Nebraska back in 2006. But here's where things get strange. If you search for any information about it online, you'll find nothing. No news, articles, no official casualty reports, nothing, just conspiracy theory websites and the occasional Reddit post asking if it even happened. It's like the whole event either never existed or was somehow erased from history. But despite the silence online, there are many people who claim they remember hearing about it. Some even say they were at Mount Rushmore around that time and heard a report about it on the radio. For a long time, the only evidence of the incident on the internet was this still frame from a home video that was supposedly taken just before the incident with the date September 27, 2006, embedded on it. That is, until some ordinary gamer, a YouTuber who often dives into dark web rabbit holes, discovered more evidence while browsing the late nights forum on a 4chan-like site. He came across the gruesome pictures of a bloody school gym that were allegedly taken soon after the shooting had already happened. Somewhat more reasonable theory is that this is a classic case of the Mandela effect, where large groups of people collectively misremember something. And coincidentally enough, I actually did find a similar incident that happened in 2006 in that region in the Platte Canyon High School situation. 53-year-old Dwayne Roger Morrison took 7 female students hostage, attacked them, and ended up shooting one of them. This also took place on September 27, 2006. Which is the same date on which the alleged photo was taken. Before the incident, its location in Colorado might also explain why people from the Midwest remember hearing about it on the news. But there are some major differences. Most notably, the Platte Canyon incident had nothing to do with a volleyball game, and there was only one death. But in saying all of that, the most likely scenario is that all of this is a hoax. While researching this incident, I came across an interesting post on the forum Above Top Secret. From 2017 in this post, the op was talking about creating a hoax in which multiple school shootings happened in 2006 in tiny towns. But any information relating to these incidents has been mysteriously erased from the public record. But if that's the case, the images that some ordinary gamer came across, where did they come from? Considering it's been over 7 years since this first contraction on the internet, it's unlikely we'll ever know the answer to this disturbing internet rabbit hole. Over the past 50-plus years, there have been numerous reports of people hearing mysterious sounds coming from the sky. In some cases, the mysterious noise resembles the sound of screeching metal, like someone dragging heavy metal furniture across the floor. However, the most commonly reported noise is a low-frequency hum that persists in the area. Those who can hear these sounds describe them as omnipresent and extremely annoying. And according to the BBC, the humming noise has been linked to at least one person ending their own life in the UK. However, while there are likely many legit reports of people hearing a mysterious humming, which we'll get to in a bit, many of the claims are either fake or can be explained quite easily. For instance, the metallic screeching noise could simply be from a nearby railroad with a long freight train rounding a corner and causing vibrations. Some of these trains are incredibly lengthy and can take several minutes to pass. Similarly, in another video, you can hear what sounds like an extremely loud trumpet. Lighten up now. The original poster of this video titled this as a judgment trumpet, referring to the divine trumpet described in the Christian faith. However, given the poor weather conditions in the footage, it's likely just a malfunctioning tornado siren. A few of these videos are also outright faked, with the mysterious sounds being edited in to generate views. Notice how the birds around the area appear completely unaffected by the loud, ominous noise, which would be unlikely if the sound was genuinely overwhelming. The environment birds have sharper hearing than humans, and they would likely react. It's entirely possible that the person who recorded it was hearing something from inside their body, misinterpreting it as an external sound, which further supports the stress-related theory. However, this doesn't explain the hundreds or even thousands of other videos that do include the hum, and given the endless amounts of possibilities for each individual case, I doubt we'll get a concrete answer anytime soon. On March 20th, 2015, a YouTube channel by the name Lang Marine uploaded a 3.5-minute video titled "Fresno Le Harassment Ford Crew Cab that stalked me in my residence numerous times." The video showed the same vehicle driving past the camera twice in 3 minutes. The uploader was a 51-year-old former Marine named John Lang living in Fresno, California. The video footage came from a security camera he had installed outside his home, and in a description of this video, he provided much-needed context behind the oddly disturbing encounter. According to Lang, he was critical of the way Fresno PD and Fresno Fire utilized their budgets online. So now they were stalking and harassing him in retaliation, and the Ford truck in the video belonged to either the Fresno Police Department or the Sheriff's Office. The next day, he posted another video of a man walking his dog outside his home. The video showed the dog and his owner stopping outside Lang's home for a few seconds and moving on, nothing too unusual. However, Lang claimed that the person in the video was a plain-clothed police officer who was conditioning Lang's dog so that it wouldn't attack if the same officer broke into his home later. Over the next 10 or so months, Lang continued posting videos of shady activity captured by a security camera, like a guy in plain clothes coming up to his home, taking a look and walking away immediately, or a police truck stopping outside his home for a few seconds and then driving away. But it remained closed to this day. The John Lang cast sits as a mystery. Was he actually getting stalked, or was he just severely mentally ill and paranoid? From my research, the answer seems to be a mix of both first and foremost. It's worth mentioning that the Fresno police are well known for being ripe with corruption. A Reddit user mentioned a story he knew about the PD, stating, "I mean, my friend's dad was FPD for decades, and Jerry Dyer showed up with some officers and threatened him back in the late 90s, so it wouldn't surprise me if the cops were intimidating this dude." So did the Fresno PD retaliate? Against Lang, maybe what's more likely is that Lang was getting more paranoid and losing his mind over time. From what I can see, the man walking his dog is doing just that. Walking his dog and claiming that he was somehow conditioning Lang's dog in just a couple of seconds is pretty out there. Even the suspicious van can be explained quite easily, since the device shown in the video was just a film camera on a gimbal, not some high-tech thermal imaging sensor. And as for why they were shooting like that from a vehicle, they were likely indie filmmakers who just didn't have the proper permissions from the city. However, all of this is just conjecture on my part. The real evidence that proves Lang's deteriorating mental state is the fact that he turned off the cameras he had in his home a day before the incident. The last saved footage on these cameras was of him sitting with a kitchen knife in his hand. Not only that, but when the fire department arrived on the scene, all the entrances to his home were barricaded securely from the inside. If this was truly a murder, the killer wouldn't have been able to escape the crime scene without removing one of these barricades. Ultimately, if there was some big murder conspiracy behind Lang's death, I doubt we'll learn about it over 8 years later.